Hello everybody, I'm Hannah and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be having a chatty little time talking about my 2025 bookish year and also getting into what some of my goals for 2026 are. So let's get into it. So obviously we're a little bit into 2025 already, so this is a bit late, but I like to really kind of sink into the new year and be able to think really mindfully about what I want my goals to be, so I kind of put off filming this till now. But let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to be using Storygraph to go through some stats for the year, but let's just jump into goals first. So my quantitative goal was to read 52 books, which I knew I was going to hit. I intentionally set that low. And my kind of reach goal was 200. It's usually 200. I've only hit that once out of the 3 years that I've had that goal. This year I got to 189 books out of 200, which is totally fine. This goal is not an I have to hit it type goal. It's definitely a reach goal. So it's fun to keep me motivated if I'm in a slump to know that I'm trying to get to 200, but it's also not a big deal if I don't make it. I had another goal to not buy as many physical books. I started the year with 652. My goal was to lower my TBR. Ended the year with 759 books on my TBR. So did not do so good on that one. Next, this is more of a content goal, but I wanted to post at least one YouTube video a week, and I pretty much did that. I think there was a week or two that I took off, but largely came in pretty solid there. I wanted to do quarterly check-ins for TBR accountability and all of my new acquisitions, which I did do, and I think I'm going to continue doing those next year or this year now, because I think it's just a good practice for me to review what I received and kind of keep an eye on my numbers. I wanted to buddy read The Count of Monte Cristo with my husband this year. That did not happen, and I actually am in a buddy read of Count of Monte Cristo, not with my husband, this month in January 2026. So hopefully we will have that finished eventually. This was also more of a soft goal. Hello, what are you doing? This was also more of a soft goal, but generally I put not to join any specific monthly book challenges unless I come up with them myself, because I always get sucked in. And I would say I pretty much did that just because I wasn't purposely joining them or not putting pressure on myself to read for those challenges instead of reading off my TBR. Some more quantitative goals. First, I wanted to read 15 book of the month books because I had a huge backlog and I read 24, so that one's accomplished. I wanted to read 15 fairy loot books and I only read 8, so that one's not great. And then I wanted to read my remaining 12 Aardvark books. Aardvark. I used to subscribe to Aardvark and I don't now, but I still have some books that I haven't read from when I did subscribe, and I didn't read any of those. So go team. Obviously need to up my game and hopefully tackle that in 2026. So now giving you some stats because I think those are fun. I already told you I had 189 books that I read. Of those, I read 70,651 pages. Mostly I read emotional, adventurous, tense, and dark books. Lots of fantasy in there. My overall pace, I had 5% slow, 74% medium, and 21% fast. Page number, 20% was under 300, 67% was from 300 to 499, and 14% were 500 plus, 92% fiction, 8% nonfiction, and my genres by and large were romance, followed by fantasy, then contemporary, then young adult, then dystopian, then poetry, then historical, and those are my only big genres, I feel like. Format, I read 49% print, 27% digital, and 24% audio. This is a marked decrease than years prior because I have really been leaning into less audiobooks because it's just not my favorite way to intake reads, to be honest. I have been doing a lot of immersion reads where I read the physical and also have the audio that I'm listening to as I read. When that's the case, I normally still count it as a physical book. My most read authors were Sarah J. Maas with 12 books, which makes sense because I reread ACOTAR and Throne of Glass this year. Terry Maffey at 11. I reread Shatter Me. K.A. Tucker with 5. 5, Sophie Jordan with 5, Maya Angelou with 4, Lynette Noni with 4, Victoria Aveyard with 4, Emily McIntyre with 4, Carissa Broadbent with 4, Lila Sage with 4. So lots of repeat authors this year. And then I'm going to put this graph up so you can see it for by the months of number of books and pages. As you can see, I really was reading pretty high page count books. Feels like more towards the beginning of the year, but it's kind of a general trend. I guess I took a little dip in like August and September, but I've been pretty consistent throughout the rest of the year. My average star rating is 3.92. So you can kind of see my ratings across. I largely rate 4.0. That I have a single 3.5 book, and that was because I rated a book 3.5 previously that I reread this year, but I don't do half star ratings anymore. I just do the full star ratings because I don't think ratings are honestly a super valuable metric for people, and I would rather not murky the waters even more by adding in like half or God forbid quarter star ratings. And that's no shade to the people who want to rate that way. That's totally fine. I think star ratings aren't that useful for me necessarily, and so I just don't want to take a lot of time to really be like, is this a 3.25 or a 3.5? It's a 3. As a general rule, kind of getting away from the stats of it all, I feel like this was largely a mid-reading year for me for most of the year. I talked about this in my top 10 video, but I'm not sure if that's going to be posted before or after this one, so I'm just going to say it again. I really got through, I would say like all the way up through November of this year, genuinely having just 2 books that I knew for sure were going to be on my top 10. And it's not that I wasn't enjoying other books, I don't know, I didn't feel like there were a lot of standouts. And then November and December hit, and I have most of my top 10 reads from those 2 months, which is crazy because it's at the end of the year. I felt like I was kind of slowing down on reads a lot because we were just coming off that dip that you saw that I took in August and September with reading. Now, when I look back on it, I can tell you tons of life events happening. One of those was that I took a new job in July, which was terrible. I hated my boss. I felt like my mental health was in the dumpster, like it was not a good time. And I held that job from July until September. And so I think that's why my reading dipped. My husband and I moved in June. Even that did take my reading the way that my crappy mental health in August and September did. Now I feel like I'm in a good groove, but I'm curious to see kind of where my reading will go this year. I do think I'm going to have more time because things are going to be a lot more settled, but I don't know, if I feel more relaxed, maybe I'm not going to be reading as much. I'm not really leaning into audiobooks, like I said. Kind of where my heart is really pushing me is really epic, big, chunky fantasy series, and those are long. So just the act of like reading a book is going to take me longer than if I were reading 16, 250 to 300 page romance novels in a row. So we'll see. With all of that, let's jump into my goals for 2026. I have them all written out in my book journal, so we're going to go through these. I do have a book journal this year. I didn't have that as a goal, but it is a goal for me to keep up with that. So 2026 goals. First one is going to sound really familiar. I want to keep my hard goal of 52 books for the year. I will feel like I have been a success as a reader if I read 52 books in 2026. My stretch goal is going to be 200 again. I don't know how realistic this is, but I would like to think that I can accomplish that. I want to complete my 26 and 26 challenge, which again, I don't know if that video has gone up by the time this one will, but I can show you guys. This is all of my 26 and 26 books. Very excited about them. And I've already read one as of filming this video, so I'm on my way. And then I want to get my TBR below 700 books. Like I said, we ended the year at 759, which is not great. So I feel like I should be able to get it below 700 by the end of the year. I'm not going on any kind of book buying ban because I feel like historically those have not worked out super well for me. I stick really well to them in the moment, but then as soon as they're over, I kind of go hog wild and justify it because I've just been on a ban, and that's counterproductive. So I just want to mostly read off my shelves this year. I want to restrict my library books. I don't have Kindle Unlimited right now in hopes that it'll get me to read more off of my shelves. I think below 700 is doable, but I would love to get it even lower than that. Next, I've got read 15 book of the month books. Because I did 24 last year, I think 15 is doable. I want to read 15 Fairy Loot books. This was also a last year goal that I failed. I want to read 5 Owl Crate books, 5 Moonlight books, and 5 Alariel books. These are all other bookish subscriptions subscriptions that I have. I haven't had Owlcrate, Moonlight, or L'Oreal for as long, and I tend to only get one book a month from them, so I don't have a huge backlog, which is why they're lower than that 15. I want to get my NetGalley ratio to 30%. I wrote this goal in October. I believe my NetGalley ratio is actually above 30% still, and I do have a couple of arcs left to read for 2026, but I don't think I want to request more because, again, I really want to focus what's on my shelves. And then finish all of my aardvark books is another goal, which, as you know, I flunked in 2025. So I should be able to do it in 2026. And at some point, I want to maybe make like a reading vlog of me reading my aardvark books just to like motivate me to do it. That might be helpful. Yeah, but those are my goals for 2026. I'm very excited. I love New Year's and like the fresh energy that New Year's brings. And so I'm really looking forward to diving into it. I feel like it's January 10th when I'm filming this. I've only read 2 books this month, which isn't awesome. I'm not starting the year off with a bang so far, but I have really been enjoying what I'm reading, and that's important to me. So anyway, yes, this is a shorter video than usual, but I did want to make it just to make sure that I'm kind of setting myself up well, letting you guys know what my goals are, and I want to have this video to look back on next year so I can see what we did and didn't do in 2026. So thanks so much for being here, and I will see you guys in the next one.